Hello everyone, welcome to Database Management, week number 3. I am sharing with you the Blackboard week number 3 tab material, and what I wanted to do is to go over the material on this Blackboard and go over the lesson plan and the assignment. In this week we begin to dive into the database management system, particularly the relational database system, and talk about all of the essential functions and parts. So be able to say what it's about. But let me go over the lesson plan. And if you click on this, I should download it, and you should see something like this. Okay. So in this chapter, or in this week, we'll be going over the Zybook chapter 2, and here we are going to talk about the relational models, tables and columns, the null values, primary key, foreign key, referential integrity, the joins, the views, and the normal forms. And so what I'll do is I'll go over them and talk to you about the assignment. So here, let me just bring so here is the Zybook. I logged in directly to the Zybook rather than coming through the Blackboard, only because I wanted to show you how it is outlined without the homework. But anyway, so here is the list of the chapter 2, relational database, and I'll go over them with you here. So if you click on them, so let me get over to maybe a good diagram here. So this is kind of a good diagram, as well as this Lucid chart here. The reason why it is called a relational database is because it is composed of tables, and these tables are related to one another in some special way. So each table will be comprised of different columns and rows with their IDs and the contents and stuff, right? So that's what this section is going to talk about, right? But that's the basic idea. It is called a relational database because it is made up of relationships among tables, all right? And in section 2, it talks about what a table is, what a column is, and what row is, right? Which should be pretty straightforward. And so you want to have some columns that are of particular type, like an ID number column, like a name column, and stuff like that, right? And each row would be a record, a specific record within that table. And the table will have many records, right? But all the records will have same kind of information, right? So that's what this section talks about. So go through that. Section 3 talks about a null value, right? And null value is a very special concept within the database, particularly in the relational database, because some entries will have no value, right? So like in this table here, let's say the table ID of the record number 5384 with the same SNED, the birth date is missing. But it could be absolutely nothing there, or it could be a blank space, or it could be something that we are not able to see, or whatever, right? So if we want to say that it is actually nothing in the particular section or the content, then we would use the idea of a null, right? So that as to not confuse if there's any blank spaces or some other stuff that may be there but is not rendering. So and we can preset that, or we can check to see if it is a null value. Sometimes you could have a value of 0, right? But that's not a null. 0 is something. 0 is a number, right? And so we want to make that distinction. So this section talks about that, so kind of go through that. What's kind of important in each of the table is, like if I show you here, each table will contain not only the columns, but as well as like the rows with different information, but there will be a column that is a specific value. And those specific values are called a primary key and foreign key. Primary key is a key that is used to arrange and sort or organize all of the records within that table. And so each table should have one primary key. There can be multiple, more than one, and different combinations of keys. But typically, basically talking about a simple tables, you want to have just one primary key because that's the key that you want to use to sort. And the key would be this particular value here, right? So there should not be more than one occurrence of a record with an ID of 2538, right? So there'll be two records, and it could be kind of confusing, right? So that the key, the ID, is the key for this table. The name is not the key, although we may be able to sort them, but the the key that we are going to use to make a particular record unique would be the ID. And then the foreign key is a key that is used to refer to another table. If this is only one table, you don't you only need a primary key, and maybe not even a primary key. I mean, who cares, what kind of key you're using? But typically, you would have a primary key. But if it is related to another table in some specific way, then you want to use the primary key of the other table in the referencing table and say this value here is primary key of another table, and that particular ID is called a foreign key, right? So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, and so go through that and make sure that you are able to kind of associate that, right? So here is a foreign key that is used as a primary key on another table. Okay. Referential integrity is a concept that we want to be able to have the tables related correctly and not duplicated or redundant or stuff like that. So kind of go over this a little bit, and there are many different ways that we want to establish and maintain the integrity of the tables, and the main way is to use the primary keys and the foreign keys, right? The next item is what's called the inner and outer joins. When you have more than one table, like here, and you want to be able to join the table together because you want to pull the information from not only one but multiple tables, then you want to be able to join those two tables, and the way you can join them, there are many different ways, right? So you can join them with the left join, meaning join this guy in reference to this guy, or you can do a right join, meaning you can join the left to the right in reference to the right table, or you can combine them together and have a composite or the union type of thing. And there are different variations of the joins that we can do, but join is basically used to put the tables together, and you can join more than two tables. And so this will take you through couple examples on what they are and how to join them. Right? And viewing the table is another concept that you want to create a view of a table rather than the actual table. This will provide a alternative to using the table. So this is a very interesting concept. It may even speed up the access and the operations. So take a look at this viewing option that you can create. The normal form concept of a relational database is important for a operational database, meaning that if you're using this database as a way to operate your business, like purchasing airline tickets, or you want to sell inventory, or you want to add some transactions or whatever, conduct your normal business. In the operational database, the efficiency is very important. You want things to happen like right away. You don't want to, you want to make a purchase of a ticket for a concert, and it tells you that you got it like 2 days later. That's just not helpful at all. So when you make a transaction, you want to happen right away, like almost real time, right? And so in order to do that, you want to use what concept called a normal form. And the way that it happens is you want to design the tables as small as possible, so that you only use the table that are totally necessary. You don't want to have a large table because it may take a long time to pull up that table, right? And so the idea is to make it really small, atomic as possible, and you don't want the data to be replicated or in more than one place. So that's the basic idea, and there's levels of the redundancy, or otherwise known as a normal form, that we can talk about, but go through these and see if that helps out. In other kinds of a database, like data warehousing, this normal form is actually inefficient. You don't want things to be so small and unique. We don't particularly care about the speed. We care more about the analytics. We care more about the predictive analysis that we can do, and the volume and the meaningfulness of the all the other tables. So it's a little bit different. It's not that we want the data warehousing to be taking forever, but the timing is not as critical as the operational database. So take a look at that. I think that's the end of. I don't think we're going to do the relational algebra. Okay? So let me go back to the chapter 3 outline here. So the basic objective of this week number 3 is to understand different parts of the relational database, namely the tables, the columns, and the rows, and how they are related. We'll talk more about their relationships as we design the tables. We talked about the primary and foreign keys and the integrity, and a little bit about the joins. And I'll post up the updated video here. This is from last year. And do the only assignment, which is the ZyBook. That's it for this week. Look forward to receiving your work. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Bye-bye.